In what ways does your media product use, develop, or challenge forms and conventions of real media products?
Well, obviously the first convention we used was sort of like the clear message throughout our short film. The sort of message in our short film would be that small towns are becoming less industrialised and more about merchandising and high streets and things like that. Although even these are being filled up with the wrong sort of businesses, and how along with the loss of industry comes the loss of community spirit and helping the old and good healthcare and things like that. So this sort of means we had to be extremely well scripted. However, the way we do challenge forms of conventions as short films would be the way we mix the documentary style and dramatisation in our footage, so that part of it was documenting the small town and the other half was scripted speech. There's no 3-act structure in our film. It is literally just one monologue with one character. So this is challenging a convention of typical drama in a short film. Our film challenges pretty much class divisions, and this is pretty much a convention of drama because it will always challenge something in society that is typical. So, how effective is the combination of your main product and ancillary texts?
Right, so the first problem we hit was that both tasks weren't completed by the screening date, and because of this and other groups having the same problem, they weren't shown at the screening, so we couldn't get audience feedback from it. But with the magazine review, I think we did quite well actually, because we had the same idea and concept as our short film, so they were really themic and quite specific.
Give us more specific themic elements to
Right, so
magazine review.
The design of the background for the magazine review, it was a notebook style, and that links in how he would write things down first and then read them out in front of the camera. So it links to our actual main idea. As with the radio trailer, we struggled quite a lot with this because we had to pin down the genre of our own film, which we found quite hard.
We did.
And this made coming up with an initial concept for the radio trailer quite hard. But overall, we fully believe that the ancillary tasks combine well with our own main piece. They contrasted they actually came across really successful, and while still hoping that the concept was consistent throughout, although timekeeping issues meant our audience feedback was quite minimal. And to the magazine review and the radio trailer, they're quite well completed, weren't they?
Yes.
What have you learnt from your audience feedback?
Well, we were quite pessimistic going into the screening, as we weren't 100% happy with exactly how our film was. But once we had shown our film and a few editing issues had been raised, like a few jumpy cuts and some sound problems.
Yeah, but we found that was to do with the master edit, didn't we?
Yeah. The sound problems weren't really our fault, so they were gratified eventually. And a few other issues that were raised were pretty much the ratio of the images of the speech to the shots of the small town. People were sort of split on whether we should have more shots of the town or more shots of Mino. We didn't really have a clear response from the audience, so we essentially after that kept it the same because it was quite an ambiguous response. A few of the audience were a little unhappy with how the actor's performance was. They felt that the script was great, but his performance didn't really do justice to the script. Although we probably agree with them, it wasn't really his fault as such, as we did have a few timekeeping issues and the script was given into him late, so it was very difficult for him to pin down his character role and the exact way he should present it. So pretty much based on our audience feedback, we've added new titles and sorted out the dodgy edits. We did consider adding more footage of the town, but the ambiguity in the feedback we received about the ratios, we decided to leave it as it was, because otherwise it was just going to go too far one way. In respect to the performance of our actor, we take full responsibility. Some of the audience felt that it didn't really do justice to the script, but there's nothing we can really do about that now, as there's no time to refilm, so we're going to have to make do amend. How did you use media technologies in the construction and research, planning and evaluation stages?
Right, so within the construction stages, we used the DVX100 cameras plus the kit that came with it. That included the microphone and boom, etc. We actually struggled with this the first time we filmed because we hadn't used these cameras before and we only had like an hour's lesson on it, and we felt we didn't have enough experience, and that was a problem with like our first time we filmed. We struggled with it and it just seemed to cause a lot of problems. We also used the tracking dolly and the tracking pipe as well. We used that the first time we filmed as well, but we also struggled with that as well because of the tight spaces we had where we were filming. We weren't sure how big it was. We thought it'd be a bit smaller actually.
Yeah.
But when it came to filming for the final time, we actually made sure that we had a large enough space for it, and we actually had a little bit of a hand with the cameras.
We were much more competent
weren't we?
with the track and dolly at that time, yeah.
But it was because we had the larger space. As regards to research, we obviously used a lot of new websites. So we used Prezi, but we actually didn't use it as much. We used a lot of other websites like Vokey and SlideShare, ones that we hadn't actually used before. As for our blog, we actually decided to use Tumblr, and that was compared to last year and the blog we used then, which was so hard to use and it was just so annoying, and Tumblr's just made it so much easier.
We had a lot of difficulty with embedding sort of videos and things, didn't we?
But it's a lot easier on Tumblr, so glad we changed that. As with planning, I think we did quite well actually, because we used my iPad quite a bit and used the calendar function on it, and I created the sort of times we wanted to do something, screenshot it and uploaded it to Facebook, which was actually another thing that we used to keep in contact because it's free, simple to use, everyone's on it, and we could easily get hold of each other.
Very
and
true.
As for that, we also used our phones, didn't we? But
yeah.
Everybody used that. So, as with the evaluation stages, we used the smaller Panasonic camera like we are now, and we're also going to use Final Cut Pro once we've put this all together. But overall, I think we did quite well. It was really successful, apart from the use of our camera, didn't we?
Yeah, we did have a few problems, but we were gratified it. So
after we've learned from it, so we know how to use it if we did it again.